Welcome to Training Camp. My name is Dan Hartwig. You know Maurice Clarett. We have Sierra Hartwig with us today as well. You know, the first thing I want to do is I want to start off talking a little bit about the purpose of Training Camp, because I think that there are a lot of people that are out there that are always looking for somebody to maybe push them along, to encourage them, somebody that they can relate to. And I think one of the things that is most commonly misunderstood is that you might see somebody that you look up to. You might see somebody that you think is successful, and you might think that they have it all together and they don't have to face battles and they don't have to fight demons and they don't have to battle, you know, even themselves. And that is false. And so what we want to do is we want to bring transparency, you know, to all of this, because I think that the most important thing that you know is that battling things is normal, and you have to be able to get past yourself, and you have to know how to do it, and you have to be encouraged at the exact same time. And so that's really what Training Camp is all about. And so, you know, I want to go ahead and I want to introduce Sierra, you know, and one of the things that, you know, I'm most inspired by is, you know, it was not too long ago, it was a few years ago that Sierra lost her mother. And it was at that point that she turned to the sport of, you know, bodybuilding and competing internationally, where she has been able to get on stage at the Arnold multiple times and be placed obviously internationally. And now she's actually prepping for the Olympia, which is the biggest bodybuilding competition in the world. So Sierra, I want to go ahead and introduce you a little bit, and you know, maybe talk to anybody that is out there, whether it be, you know, a single mother, whether it be a mother that's just getting past pregnancy, whether it be, you know, somebody that's asking themselves, how do I push past, you know, hey, I've never worked out before, but I want to start. Maybe how do you get that moving? Because everybody knows that they have something more that's inside of them, but does it require something you know, large, bad to happen to you for that to happen? I mean, it just seemed like that's what happened to you that kickstarted it. But how do we get ourselves moving in the direction maybe that we uncover the best version of ourselves?
I don't think that something bad like has to happen to you. I think the main thing is you just have to have like an internal motivation. So whatever it may be that would encourage it or make them believe they could do it. Like, a lot of people want to do things or say they want to do things, but they don't really want to do it because they don't want to do the work that it takes to get there. So, like, for instance, a lot of people are like, oh, I wish I could do a 5K. They'll say that, but they're like, I don't really think I could do a 5K, so I'm not going to, like, want to put in the work and things like that. But even, like, with bodybuilding, people, like, see it and they say, oh, I would love to, like, compete and things like that. A lot of people don't want to eat 5, 6, 7 times a day or be eating fish 3, 4 times a day.
Let me stop you there, though. Okay. Do you want to do those things?
It's not that I really want to do the things that, like, are the process. Like, I don't enjoy all of the process. Like, I don't enjoy fish, for instance, but I know, like, that will help me reach my goals just because I'm so motivated internally by my long-term goal, and I want it bad enough that I'm willing to make those sacrifices. So to me, it's just like a little baby, like, stepping stone to get where I'm going. So it never really bothers me. Like, I don't think twice about, like, what I'm gonna eat. I'm like, okay, this is what I'm gonna do. This is what equals this, so I'm going to do it.
I think that that's an interesting topic, though, that we can carry with, because I think a lot of the things, you hit on a couple things. Number one, you hit on motivation. And, you know, motivation is something that we can have an entire conversation about, because I don't necessarily think that people need motivation. I think at the root core of motivation is the word motive. People need a fucking reason.
Yes.
Motivation is the excuse that people will use for saying, I don't want to do what I really want, and so I need something to push me. It becomes an excuse. No, you need a reason. You need something big. You need something that is going to, you know, push you, you know, to that next level. But, you know, so what you were saying is, you know, you see the result. Jay-Z said it best. He said a lot of people, they want to emulate the result. They don't want to emulate the process, right?
I agree.
But when we talk about the things that you don't want to do, right? How many times in life do we not want to do certain things, but we have to look at the things that we don't want to do a little bit differently, because a lot of times the things that you don't want to do are the exact things that you need to do to get what you want to get. Mm-hmm. So how many times in your life, whether it be playing football, whether it be, doing what you're doing now, do you not want to do certain things?
Probably most days. Unlike her, I had to have like traumatic situations that happen to me in order for me to wake up. You know what I'm saying? 'Cause I think it's so easy. Like I'll just piggyback on her situation. Eating the proper foods may be easier for her, but for me, I look at eating like pleasure. You know what I'm saying? Like most people, like you have fun eating. Eating's like a activity, and so in her brain, you could tell that she's like, yo, I can disconnect that emotional process, where I can just like, it's not a thing for me. It's just me doing this. A plus B equals C.
Yep.
And I get to where I go to. It's funny how in regards to food, I can't do that, but in regards to business, I can do everything. Like I'll sit up, I'll study, I'll read a book, I'll meditate, I'll do everything to the T to bring like a specific result in business. You know what I'm saying? I'll go to 1,000 meetings. I'll put 190,000 miles on a car. I'll get into 1,000 plane rides. I'll do everything I'm doing to get to a result to basically win in business. Excuse me. But I think like when you said motive and some of the reasons, I think like my motive and my inspiration for that are the joy that I find. I'll get back to the original question is that I don't want to ever be in poverty again. You know what I'm saying? So I'm always like doing everything that I can do to make sure I'm successful in business, and I neglect any other thing with that. And so I don't think about when it comes to me connecting or accomplishing the core goal that I have, the motive, I can barrel through that. Not always easy, you know what I'm saying? The majority of the days I don't feel like getting up. The majority of the days I don't feel like reading. The majority of the days I don't want to listen to an audio book. The majority of the days I don't want to return emails. And half of the time when you see me out here going on walks or jogging up and down the street in the afternoon, I'm literally putting in my headset just to have a call so I don't have the ability to do something else, and distract myself. But I force myself to do what I have to do in order to get there. And I don't know. I don't have all the answers.
Let me ask you this question.
I'm sorry.
How do people get to that point though that they lack motivation? Because I think there comes a point in time where I think people start sliding, and then they get to a point where they're like at the bottom, and they're like, oh shit, like I got to do something, I got to change, and sometimes the change is too costly for them, and they're like, I've got a routine.
Yeah, my personal belief is that you have to be clear on what you want and who you want to be. And I think that when I think people, I'm pretty sure if she said, this is what I want to be, I'm pretty sure like who she wants to be is exactly what she's transforming and turning into on a daily basis. She has a clear picture in her mind. This is the way I want my body to look. This is the way I want my face to look. This is the way I want my arms to look. People who really into fitness, they care everything from their toes to their fingers to their hair. Like they become obsessed with just their physical presentation to the world, right? Because it's into everything. And I think that people who lack motivation or lack direction or lack like whatever that thing is, I don't think that they're clear because I don't think that they create the space for themselves to like find out who they are. You know what I'm saying? So like every morning I'm like really you can, and we're neighbors by the way if y'all didn't know. We literally live next door to each other, but you can look at my kitchen at 5:30, 5:15, 5:40 whenever I get up, and literally I'm sitting at the table and I'm literally writing down like who I want to become. But the constant reminder of like, okay, this is what I want to do, this is what I want to accomplish, this is who I want to be. And as redundant as it sounds, I've probably written the same things 1,000 times, but I'm creating myself. And I think like people lose that, like your life is created through your thoughts, your life is created through your words, and your life is created through like your behavior. And I think just a repetition of that. So like to your question, just my opinion, it doesn't mean I'm right. My answer would be that more people aren't really clear on who they want to become, or they've not spent the time. Like ask yourself, how much time did you spend like saying like, okay, this is who I want to look like within the fitness space. This is who I wanted to become. This like how much time do you spend doing that? Or do it connect to you like that? Does it connect to you? I don't know. I'm just throwing it back to you all.
I would say, it's like different because the whole reason why like I got into the industry, like to begin with, I've always had like a competitive like personality. It's just who I am. But when my mom passed away at 49, I mean, she just didn't wake up one day, and to know like that's possible, and it to be like, everyone thinks like it can't happen to you, and then it like happens to you, and you're like, holy crap, you know what I mean? And she had so many different health issues, and I just never realized, hey, like health issues can actually like kill you, even if they're not like, my mom never had a stroke, never had a heart attack, none of that. Severe. So like it's nothing like severe, and she just like didn't wake up, and I'm like, holy crap, like I want to be the healthiest I can be.
So that doesn't happen to me.
Yeah, because it scared me, and I don't know, like that really did like spark like the whole like fitness thing for me. And then I like got into where I was doing it, and I found so much joy into it, and I realized like it was like a stress reliever. And then it kind of like just kept like advancing, like the different people I would meet and things like that. You're saying, hey, like you can turn it on when it comes to business, but you don't necessarily turn it on like when it comes to like food. But what if eating all of like your structured meals and your physique did get you further in the business world in a completely different segment?
But I believe it can.
Yeah, it can, absolutely. And that's what I'm saying. Couldn't that be your motivation to be like, okay, I might eat 3 fish meals a day or whatever it may be, you know? Like you're saying you just eat for joy, but like for me, like I don't really, and it's not that I'm saying like food's not enjoyable, because it is. It's just I eat what I have to get to where I'm trying to go, and that's the pro level. I mean, I've never been on an elite level like you, like it, but like you and where you made it in football in general, like people like look up to you and things like that. And for me, like I always just wanted to get as far as I could be, and just I like zone in, and I see people struggle with it all the time, but I just believe like their passion and their motivation isn't strong enough.
So let me ask you 2 questions, or I'm gonna say a statement then a question. I think the first statement was that I identified as that I did what I did based upon me not wanting to be in poverty. I think I heard you clear when you said that your mother's health and her passing away earlier than she probably needed to impacted you. And I think that connects to what Diane said, like there's a motive, right? My motive was poverty, her motive was health. And I guess I was gonna ask you, I'm not trying to prove my point, but along the way when you were meeting people, as you started to immerse yourself, as you started to feel good in fitness, health, wellness, fitness, and everything that you do in that industry, like, do you visualize or do you ever just like sit and picture yourself being something else? Like, does it start there? And I guess that's what, like, for me, the only way I can become better, like to answer Dan's question originally, was that I have to visualize something somewhere in my brain. I sit down and be like, this is who I want to become. And I could just, and all the stuff that you see me doing on a daily basis to become that person, just to actualize it. And connecting back to the conversation you had earlier, that's just my personal belief. But I'll just ask you that, like, do you ever see yourself like, this is what I want Sierra to look like, and then every day I'm trying to look like this person in my mind? Or I don't know, I don't want to put words in your mouth.
So yes, I do. More so like, cause I know what I want to look at, and I just progressively like break it down. So I find it's easier if you like can visualize and like set goals. Like for me, I find it easier to like make a list of goals that I want. Like they don't have to be like super like out of this world, but like for the last 5 years, I've made a list of goals, and as I'm checking them off, I have to keep adding more, because if I never want to feel like, oh, like I accomplished like everything on my plate, because then what would I have to look forward to? But yeah, I do visualize. I'm like, okay, I want my waist to look like this. Every photo from every show I dissect. I'm like, and then that you have 5, 6 judges who are telling you and rearranging you in order of who they like best after they just like spent all these months on like strict dieting and things like that. They're like, okay, we like her body better than her body. And you have to be able to like deal with that. And so for me, they'll give me feedback on what they like. They'll be like, your glutes are too big, your glutes are too small, whatever. So then I come back and I analyze, okay, I'm like, okay, because they want symmetry, for instance. It's like a work of art. And I'm like, okay, so I need to bring this in smaller. This is how I should. My shoulders need slightly more capped. And to me, like, I'm obsessive about it. But like, I obsess over, like, the human body is so fascinating to me. So like, doing different exercises that can make the smallest, like, muscle transition to me is fascinating. So that's kind of like what I focus on. There's not like an end result of where I'm like, this is just what I want to. It's just like progressing and making it better. Yeah, over and over and over, it can change. But yeah, like, I want to continue going against the best in the world because that's what I love to do.
I'm going to pass it to you, Dan, in a second, because I want to hear your process. But I think two things we found to be similar, just like for takeaways. I think there was a motive each with both of us, right? Hers was more her mother, right, and health. Mine was poverty, right? I think there's a similar focus in each thing. But when she says she sets goals and basically keeps evolving it, that's still vision. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like, whatever it is, like the whole purpose of this is like to give somebody a takeaway. You share stories. I think stories are the easiest way for people to learn,
Right.
or just to find commonalities. But I don't know. What about you?
With?
No, I guess like all right. Let me frame it. So in regards to what is your process or the process of doing? I guess the first one is doing things like, oh, okay. Let me rewind this. One, what is your motive for doing what you do? That's one. The second part of that is, how do you fight through things that you don't necessarily want to do on a daily basis? And I'll leave it at those two.
So, what's
The
my
motive.
yeah? What's my motive? You know, I think my biggest fear is that time moves on, that I move back.
What you mean? Explain that to me.
As time moves forward, I move backwards.
Okay.
So, while I age, I don't want to get older in my mind. I don't want my body to keep decaying. Like, so as time moves on, I want to keep getting stronger. And so, like, I think what I'm always trying to do is you know, like, I understand that I'm going to get what I fight for. And so I think what ends up happening is a lot of times I think people get to a point in their life where sometimes either they give up or they settle. You know, like, you look at the word mediocre, it means halfway up a hill. And I think sometimes what ends up happening is that I think sometimes people, like, they get so excited for achieving certain things in their life, right? Maybe it was like, hey, I ran a mile, or hey, I you know, ran a decathlon, did a decathlon, or, you know, hey, I got promoted, or, you know, hey, I got my apartment, or hey, I got my car, or, like, they achieve certain things in their life. Well, humans are destined to keep achieving. And I think what ends up happening is that sometimes people, everybody wants to get to the top. Everybody wants to get to the top of the hill, not realizing that sometimes on the opposite side of a hill is a damn cliff. And so like, one of the things that I think is most commonly misunderstood is that people that want to achieve greatness, sometimes they never achieve the top of the freaking hill. Because part of achieving big things in life is always to be on the ascent. That means to be going up. And so the opposite of ascending is what? Descending. So if you're not going up, you're going down. Yeah. And so, like, I always am trying to think to myself, like, okay, when I'm working out by myself, I think that's why I got so much respect for people that, like, do bodybuilding, especially, is because it's a singular sport a lot of times. Where, like, you know,
self-motivated.
Like, when we talk about dieting and we talk about all this stuff, like, you know, when I'm in the gym and I'm working out by myself, a lot of times when I'm talking about people doing just enough, like, that's why they're soft-minded, because they've only done just enough for so long, and they've allowed themselves to become calloused to greatness. And so what ends up happening is that they can't achieve greatness because they have allowed softness to just brew in their body and in their mind for way too long. So what they have to do is they have to break out, they have to break through. And sometimes the only way to do that is to do a little bit of the extra. You see, if we can get to a point in our life where we can start doing the extra, we can start doing the +1. This is what I do personally. When I'm in the basement, when I'm working out, when I'm in the gym, when it's 10 reps, I say to myself, no, motherfucker, go to 11. Do 11. Do 12.
So
I'm always trying to do +1. The reason being is because that +1 is the strength. That +1 is the extra. That +1 is the breakthrough. And so mentally, I just condition my mind that 10 ain't good enough, that 5 ain't good enough, that 6 ain't good enough. And it's not me saying to myself that I'm not good enough. It's understanding that the breakthrough happens at the point where you think that you're finished and you can prove to yourself, no, I'm not.
So you mentally condition yourself to always do more.
Always.
Right? So then that conditioned mentality naturally flows into other behavior, that flows into your life, that when something comes up, I always got a solution. I can always make it through. I can always break through. I can always achieve. I always got a chance, right? I think that's a common thread through most people who are high achievers. You know what I mean? And part of my system, part of me in the morning, whatever I'm doing, I search for things that cause me to do that. Force for things like, okay, I'm running. I don't feel like doing sprints today. Let me do sprints just because I don't feel like it. To not become conditioned just to become like, I don't want to buy into that mentality, right? Even when you were thinking like that or you're talking like that, it's the same thing I think about with an alarm clock, right? I think like your mentality is developed based upon the way you treat the alarm clock in the morning. I think that's like your first conscious thought. I think when you either look at your phone or you look at your alarm clock, if you have a physical one, that's the first thought that you're like, yo, I'm about to go either, fuck, I got to get going with the day, or like, you know what, I'm setting the tone or setting the mood to.
You know what I think it is? I think it's respect. I think it's respecting yourself so much that you don't allow yourself to get away with weakness. Last time that we were talking, I was talking about like, don't avoid the weakness. What I meant by that is like, you have to attack the weakness. You have to weaken the weakness.
Hey, you know how many, I'll tell like this, you know how many responses I got from that? So I got a bunch of, I probably got like 4 direct messages off of when you described avoid. And for y'all don't know, my man has a vocabulary, a definition, a saying around everything. I keep on telling him, I say, man, you have to put a book together. Some way we have to format
so
something.
So true.
Yeah, he's well read and he retains a lot. But when you unpack that or when you said that, there was people who had engaged with that and was like, yo, I've never heard of that, right? So, but no, I'll tell him like that. So he has a wealth of knowledge and wealth of information, but I'll let you finish.
I mean, my point being is that, you have to weaken the weakness. You have to weaken the weakness and you have to push the gain. And when you can push the gain, you push it again and again and again and again and again and again and again. Look at the word again. Again.
Again.
When you can push through, you get the gain. And so you have to weaken the weakness. Don't voluntarily make yourself weaker. See, the enemy is inside of us, but so is the champion. So you have to allow yourself to become what you're destined to become. And that requires a lot of times you to do shit that you don't want to do.
Cool. Before we get going, I'm gonna ask you something real quick. You can end on this, and you can wrap the show up. Where did the mentality or the thought come from? Always unpacking and breaking down words and connecting them to life or common behavior.
Curiosity.
Curiosity.
Just pure curiosity. Just me, like, just me being curious. Just me looking at words, trying to find out what's the meaning of it. Like, what's like, how do I understand it? I think perspective. I think me trying to always, like, it was always funny because, like, growing up, I would get mad at my mother because, she was like the always playing like devil's advocate, but she was always giving me the alternative perspective. And like, the truth is that if you don't have the right perspective in life, you can lose. You can make things worse. You can have great people that are around you that can be trying to give you wisdom that you neglect because you just get stuck in your ways. And so I think the more than anything, it's my curiosity, I guess, of wanting to kind of like just consider and not being so stubborn and bullheaded, of just allowing things to just go by and go through the motions. I think a lot of times that's how people live their life, is they wake up, they do what they need to do, they go to bed, they repeat that same cycle, and that's not living. That's
for years on end.
That's you surviving. And as I said last time, like, when you're surviving, you're more close to death than you are to life.
Yes.
So that's a wrap. You can find us on Apple Podcast. You can find us at Training Kamp with a K. You can find us on Instagram at the Champ Program, and of course on YouTube. Go ahead and search and subscribe, like, do all that stuff, share it, get us out, and of course we'll see you next time.